Now we're going to analyze what happens to electrons inside a metal when the metal is placed in a magnetic field in the framework of the root model. So the application of a magnetic field to a metal will result in interesting phenomena due to the conduction electrons, which are treated as free electrons here. One important phenomenon is cyclotron resonance, the other one is Hall effect. So as for the cyclotron resonance, under the application of a magnetic field, we have the electrons subject to a Lorentz force. So if we have the presence of electric field and magnetic field, the Lorentz force is minus E, electron charge, electric field E, plus the cross product of the electron velocity with the external magnetic field. This net force that we are applying externally is equal to mdv dt plus the collision term mv over tau. And mv is h bar k in Sommerfeld model, basically. So assuming b is equal to bk hat, we can perform this cross product. So we have the determinant I hat, j hat, k hat, vx, vy, vz, 0, 0, bz. And performing this cross product, we find that v cross b in k hat direction is vy I hat minus vx j hat times b. So we can write then the components of the equation of motion. So for the Vx component, we have md dt plus 1 over tau Vx is equal to minus E, the electric field x component, plus bvy, which is the x component of the cross product. So you can see here I hat contains vy and b. And then for the y component, we have on the right hand side minus EEY, and for the j hat part here, you can see we have minus BVX. So that's the y component of the cross product between velocity and magnetic field. And for the z component, we have no k hat component in v cross b, so it's going to be minus E EZ. Now, in steady state conditions, nothing is changing with time, d dt is 0, so we find that Vx is minus tau E over m, Ex plus Bvy, Vy is minus E tau over m, Ey minus Bvx, and Vz is minus E tau over m, Ex. Now I want to remind you what happens to an electron if we place it in a perpendicular magnetic field. Well, we know from basic physics courses that this electron will perform circular motion, and the Lorentz force EVB is equal to the mass times the centripetal acceleration v square over r, where r is the radius of the circular trajectory. And since it's uniform circular motion, its velocity is related to its angular speed omega as v is equal to omega r, which is r d theta dt. So we substitute for v omega r, so we obtain m omega square r square over r. R's will cancel, so we will find EVB, which is E omega RB, equals to m omega square r. R and omegas cancel, so we have 1 omega left on the right hand side, so that gives us EB over m. So this angular speed, omega c, is called the cyclotron frequency. So for wherever we see EB over m, we're going to substitute omega c here. So you can see that for Vx, I have minus tau E over m Ex plus minus tau EB over m, which is omega c, Vy, etc. So we will do this for all velocity components. So we obtain for Vy minus tau E over m Ey plus tau Vx omega c, and Vz does not change. And if you apply a magnetic field of the order of a few kilogauss, that yields a frequency, angular frequency divided by 2 pi of the order of few gigahertz. If the electric field is 0, that's what happens when we only have circular motion of the electrons. And if we send an electromagnetic wave through the slab of metal, The maximum absorption will occur at the cyclotron resonance frequency. You can see here absorption coefficient versus angular frequency, which has a maximum at omega c, because at cyclotron resonance the electrons inside the metal will move synchronously with the wave. And because we can determine the cyclotron frequency omega c from the absorption experiment, we can determine the mass of the electron inside the metals and semiconductors using this experiment. So it's going to be E times the magnetic field that we apply divided by omega c. Now, the other important effect is the Hall effect. When we apply an electric field and a magnetic field to a slab of metal, so that we have an electric current density Jx, it's flowing in the plus x direction, and a magnetic field Bz that's applied normal to the wire in k hat direction, we will have electrons drifting in the wire in minus I hat direction, because the current is in plus I hat direction due to the electric field epsilon x, will bend downwards due to the Lorentz force. So you can see this using the right hand rule. So your fingers point in the direction of motion of electrons, and you curl them. So it's going to be V cross B will give us the force. So V cross B, if you curl your fingers in the if you point in the direction of the velocity of the electrons and curl them towards the magnetic field, your thumb points up. Because the electron charge is negative, the force is down. So it's minus EV cross B. So we will see that the electrons will start accumulating at the bottom, and on the other side of the wire we will have positive charge buildup, because there will be uncompensated ions that are being left without the compensation of the conduction electrons. So as a result, we're going to have an electric field epsilon h developing between the two ends of the wire. At steady state, Vy will be equal to 0 and Jy will be equal to 0, so there will be no current flowing. And so therefore, if we go back to our velocity components in Drude model, where we have for Vy minus E tau over m Ey plus tau Vx omega c, so that's what we had, minus E tau over m Ey plus tau Vx omega c, so these taus will cancel. So we're going to find an Ey equal to mvx omega c over E. And for the x component of the velocity, we have minus E tau over m Ex. So because Vy is going to be 0. So here we have Vy equals to 0. So we have only this Vx. And therefore we can find this whole field that develops in the wire mvx omega c over E as m omega c over E times Vx, which is minus tau Ex over m. M's will cancel, the electron charges will cancel, and we will find the whole field to be minus omega c tau Ex, which is minus Eb over m, cyclotron frequency, tau Ex. So we can basically relate this to the current density. Current density Jx is equal to sigma electrical conductivity times Ex by Ohm's law. So Ex is equal to Jx over sigma. On the other hand, Ey is minus omega c tau over m minus Eb over m tau Ex. For Ex we can substitute Jx over sigma, so it's going to be minus omega c minus Eb over m tau Jx over sigma, which is minus omega c times tau Jx over sigma. So the taus will cancel, m's will cancel, e's will cancel, as you can see here, and we obtain Ey to be minus 1 over Ne times Jx Bz. So this coefficient minus 1 over Ne is known as the Hall coefficient, and we can measure the current that we're applying, we know. The magnetic field that we apply, we know. We can measure the Hall field by looking at the voltage that develops between the two transverse electrodes of the wire. And we can basically find out what this Hall coefficient is. So in some cases, this Hall coefficient will come out positive and will not be consistent with the number of valence electrons. That's what we call anomalous Hall coefficient, and this can only be explained by the band theory of solids. So this is one clue that there is something missing in this theory, because we come up with anomalous Hall coefficients. As you can see here, you normally expect the Hall coefficients to be negative because you have basically the electrons that are carrying the current. That's the assumption in this theory. Okay, so we have seen the effect of applying a magnetic field plus an electric field on a metal. The first effect we see is cyclotron resonance. When we solve Drude's model in the presence of this electric field and magnetic field, we can find the general expressions for x, y, and z components of the velocity. And we know that when we apply a perpendicular magnetic field, we cause circular motion of the electrons in the presence of this magnetic field. That's with a frequency EB over m, angular frequency, that's called cyclotron frequency. And with that, when we apply an electromagnetic wave through the slab, whose frequency we change, we find that when omega is equal to omega c, we will have cyclotron resonance. The electrons will move synchronously with the wave, and this is going to be used to measure the electron mass in metals and semiconductors through m is equal to EB over omega c. And as for the Hall effect, when we have a current that flows in a wire in the presence of an external magnetic field perpendicular to the wire, a Hall voltage develops in the transverse direction, and from a measurement of this Hall voltage, we can determine the electric field. It's basically the thickness of the slab multiplied by the electric field will give us the Hall voltage. So you can see here VH will be equal to, so if this is the thickness here, the thickness is T, then it's going to be equal to epsilon H times T will be the voltage that we will measure. So epsilon H will be equal to VH divided by T, and that is our electric field in the y direction. We know the magnetic field, we know the current, and that gives us a measurement of the so-called Hall coefficient, which tells us what type of carriers are carrying the current, plus the carrier concentration. Normally we assume here for metals it's going to be electrons, but sometimes we find that this Hall coefficient is positive and is not consistent with the conduction electron density in some metals and semiconductors. So this can only be explained by the nearly free electron model, which is the band theory of solids. That's what we will discuss next.